We watched Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker last night, and I have thoughts about this film. Disclaimer, there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, or you care, don't watch this. If you don't care, or if you have seen it, enjoy the garbage that's about to spill out of my mouth. Another disclaimer, I like Star Wars. I like all of Star Wars. Virtually all of Star Wars. So, I have to say that any complaints I have about The Rise of Skywalker, these are complaints given with love. I enjoy these films. I can put any of them on and have a fun time. Yes, any of them. Even that one. The one you're thinking of right now, the one you hate, the one you think is garbage, I'll still watch it. I still like it. See my earlier video about how I like garbage. Anyway, this film, I I feel like I have issues with The Rise of Skywalker because I loved The Last Jedi so much. Um, and it's a film that, while you could have issues with it, I can't really nitpick The Last Jedi. I can nitpick The Rise of Skywalker, and I'm about to do that. And it's little things. It's little things here and there that I feel like if they were just adjusted slightly, they would make a much better film. I'm not a filmmaker. No one's paying me millions of dollars to direct a film. I'm not J.J. Abrams. So what do I know? All I know is what I like. And so some of my opinions are purely based off of I prefer this. And then some of them I think are structural and actually make a certain amount of sense. So, first things first. The film opens, and you get the crawl, and it explains that Palpatine has returned, which, if you've seen any trailers, you know that Emperor Palpatine has come back, and that is one of the selling points of this film, I believe, anyway, because Ian McDiarmid is one of the best parts of the prequels, one of the best parts of Star Wars, just his gravitas and that voice, that Emperor voice, I absolutely love in every film that he's in. Um, but they drop that, oh, Palpatine has returned. He has given a message out to the entire galaxy to announce his return. You know what would be great? Is if this message from this actor that's returning to the series was actually played over the course of the film. That'd be good. Now, apparently, this actual message was recorded by Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, and they played it in I forget the name, one of those Overwatch or one of those video games where everybody plays at the same time and they're all killing each other. And I don't remember the name of it, but it was one of those games. It was released as an Easter egg, and fine, I guess. But me watching the film, I would like that in the film. I don't want Poe Dameron just saying, "Yep, Palpatine's back somehow." I would actually like to hear him announce his own return. Um, that's a nitpick. That's just like one of those things. I'm like, why wouldn't you include that in the actual film? Clearly, you recorded it, but why wouldn't you put it there? So that's a nitpick. And I think another nitpick I have is sort of one of my problems with J.J. Abrams as a director. And I like J.J. Abrams as a director, but I've heard him in interviews. And if I'm misremembering this, I apologize. But I feel like he said often that he doesn't like explaining things. And that's a storytelling thing. Like, you shouldn't tell, you should show. And that's, I like that. But so many issues I have, a single line of dialogue would have made better. For example, we're going to jump later to a later point in the film when Leia dies. She contacts Kylo Ren through the Force, and I think my issue is that there's nothing clear there about exactly what happens. It's only in retrospect that you can, and when I say retrospect, I don't mean retrospect in the film. I mean retrospect after the film, and then reading articles and then reading a synopsis from the book and like the novelization. She was like severing. She used her force powers to stretch out to another planet and sever whatever connection that Kylo slash her son Ben had with Palpatine and removed his influence. And that's what happened in that moment. But that is so not clear in the moment. It just looks like she's distracting Kylo so that Rey can then hit him with a lightsaber and nearly kill him. And then she goes to heal him. And then when I'm watching it the first time, and then even when I'm rewatching it yesterday, the scene is very confusing because I'm like, how is he not Kylo Ren anymore? How did that like, I don't, like, is it just because he sensed his mom dying? Is that was my first thought, was like, he sensed Leia dying, and this is why he reverted, which is not a bad idea necessarily, but it was just unnecessarily confusing. A simple line from Rey, for example, leaning down and saying, "Oh, Leia severed your connection. You're not Kylo Ren anymore. You're Palpatine. You know, Palpatine has no more control over you." Something like that would have made it easier for me, or maybe that happened and I'm not paying attention well enough. I don't know. Um, Another issue I have is just this complete some changes of stuff that Ryan Johnson did in The Last Jedi. Um, I don't hate them completely, but I hate some of the changes. The whole the jump from they kind of touch. So in The Last Jedi, Rey and Kylo Ren are having these sort of force visions of each other. These, like, they're force skyping each other, and then they reach a point where they actually can physically interact. That jumps massively ahead in the Rise of Skywalker, to the point where they can remove things from each other's environments. Kylo rips a necklace off of her neck. And while I don't dislike this idea, this sort of forced teleportation, it's a new power, it's kind of cool. I don't hate it. My issue is there's absolutely no buildup to it. There's no. Kylo knows he can do it when he does it, when he rips the necklace off to determine where exactly Rey is the first time. He knows this is possible. But I feel like that's a huge jump from just their fingers barely touching to, I can take an object from where you are and bring it over here. I'm like, I'd like to see a buildup, or an explanation, or some sort of incredulity on Rey's side would make me happy. Um, Another issue that I have with this lovely film is Kelly Marie Tran's complete sidelining. She's an actress who plays Rose Tico in The Last Jedi. Huge role, loved her in that film. I like her in this, but she has nothing to do. They just leave her at the base. They give Mariatic Brandybuck a ton of lines. His character's a nothing character. I don't hate that actor. He's fine, but every single one of his lines, give to Rose. Every single line, or every single that alien in the first scene, when it's Finn and Poe, and they're in the Falcon, and they're with R2 and Chewbacca, and there's this big alien guy in there, and you don't really know who he is, but he's like a tech or something. He's fixing the Falcon. Make that Rose. How is that not Rose Tico? How is she not adventuring with them? How does she not go with them later? And if she doesn't go with them later, how does she not show up with like a bunch of fathiers at some point? The big riding animals that from The Last Jedi, show up with them, in addition to sort of the former stormtrooper cavalry that shows up on the top of the Star Destroyer. Just give her something to do. I feel like they just completely ignored her in this film, and part of that annoys me is because how horribly she was treated by a large section of fandom, or a loud section of fandom. I don't know the size, how many people were horrible about Rose Tico, but a lot of people, a lot of very loud contingent of mostly racist people didn't like Rose Tico. Not to say that if you didn't like the character, you were necessarily racist, but the people who hounded Kelly Marie Tran off of social media were definitely racist and sexist. And that pissed me off too. And to see the fact that instead of having a larger role in this film, it was disappointing to me. All of that, and then just the whole Rey's identity. I would have been so much happier if Rey had been no one. I think it's a bolder choice. I think it's a stronger choice. It's a better message. It's saying that it doesn't. It's the message of The Last Jedi is it doesn't matter. The message of The Last Jedi is you have, the legacy. You have, Ben Solo, who comes from the line of Skywalker, and he throws it away. And he embraces, well, he throws part of it away and embraces the darkest, horrible parts of it, the Darth Vader parts of it. And then you have Rey, who's rising up to meet the light, and she's nobody. And you don't have to be somebody to be able to answer the call of the light. And the Force doesn't care who your dad was or who your mom was. The Force only cares is, are you the person who's in the right place at the right time? And do you have what it takes to be a hero? That's the message I would like to tell. I would making her a Palpatine. There are worse choices. They could have made her a secret, child of Luke, or a secret Solo or something like that, or somehow like Ben Kenobi's daughter somehow. There are worse choices that could have been made, but I think the strongest choice would have been that she was Rey Nobody. I think that worked a lot. And then you could still have that moment at the end where she decides to become a Skywalker. That's a fantastic moment regardless, but she's a Palpatine. And I like Palpatine. I enjoy this. I think the film is ridiculous in a lot of ways, but most Star Wars is ridiculous in a lot of ways. I feel like a lot of issues with it would have been solved if there had been sort of a consistent writing team throughout for the three films, or at least somebody who was like a Kevin Feige for the Marvel movies, who was like in charge. This is the story, and these are the beats that have to be hit, but writers go. That didn't happen. It was J.J. Abrams, and then it was Rian Johnson, and then it was J.J. Abrams again, and then there are groups of people, I think, with J.J. Abrams who wrote. So, whatever. Things just, like, it had very much the feel of Vader suddenly becoming Luke's father in Empire Strikes Back, because clearly in A New Hope, he's not meant to be Luke's father. He's Tarkin's dragon. He's a big, scary dude, but he's not meant to be Luke's dad. And then that happens in The Empire Strikes Back. And that was a good change, but it was clearly a retcon. And the whole thing of, Rey becoming a Palpatine, total retcon. They did not plan that. And I think these movies would have been served better by having more planning from the beginning. But, again, I nitpick because I love. I enjoy this film. Do you have any nitpicks about The Rise of Skywalker? Do you think I'm full of it? You probably do. Put a comment down below and let me know. I'm still going to watch it. I still had a lot of fun watching it. I'm going to watch them again. I'm going to watch all of them again at some point. And The Mandalorian, holy crap, I'm going to watch that, especially season 2 coming up. Anyway, it is 8:23 and I never know the date. Now it's 8:24 on March 26th. This is the Morse Code. I'm Chris Morse, and I'll see you tomorrow.